Joining me now to recap the week's events and the media's response to the event more specifically is Darius Mayfield, the founder and CEO of Marvel U.S. Management. So Darius, last week we saw the argument that the Democratic Party was making to the American electorate. This week we saw the Republican Party's rebuttal. Who do you think really put on the better event in making their case to the American public?
Well, great to be with you again, as always, Alex. And to answer your question directly, hands down, it was the Republican Party. And I don't even come from a side of this where I've been watching conventions year after year after year. I kind of really got more into politics once Donald Trump decided to run. And I was in it a little bit when Obama decided to run as well. And I watched some of his conventions. But the difference in this one was just, first of all, that speech that Donald Trump gave last night was amazing. And you could see by all the accomplishments he was able to tout to really see what this guy has been doing, regardless of what the media has actually been telling you. And the different array of people that he was able to bring to the stage, from people that were advocates of the criminal justice reform to mayors, to governors, to people in his own cabinet. I mean, he really just put on a display, and we shouldn't be surprised. I mean, he does come from TV land, so I really wasn't surprised that this format kind of, helped serve him a little bit better than what the Democrats. When I watched a little bit of the convention that I did, because I did not watch a lot of the Democratic convention, it just seemed to kind of drag on the same old, and I did not hear anybody talking about policies. And Trump and the Republican Party were not only able to talk about policies that we still want to institute, but they're able to talk about a lot of the policies that they've already instituted and explain to people how they're helping them, how they've helped the American people, white, black, brown, whatever it is. So they just did an amazing job. And I just want to say kudos to the Republican Party and Donald Trump. That really was a great convention. Congratulations to you all.
And that seems to be the general consensus, is that from a production standpoint, the RNC was a little bit more engaging, a little bit more stimulating than the DNC. And from a more substantive type of perspective, there was more policy. There was more personalizing and humanizing some of that policy. I mean, for example, the wife of David Dorn, that was one of the more powerful speeches that I've seen in a long time. And it really got the message across about what's happening in this country right now, about some of the unrest that we're seeing in the major U.S. cities. And it seems that coming out of the event, a lot of the criticism isn't about some of the speakers, isn't about necessarily the event itself, but rather kind of minute things, such as the president using the White House as the backdrop. Does that speak, do you think, to the success of that convention?
Yeah, not only the convention, but I think it speaks to the actual success of his presidency, which they don't talk about. And when it comes to the facts, when it comes to the accomplishments, Democrats are not stupid. They know they have nothing on what Donald Trump is not only done, but what he continues to do. For instance, I just saw an executive order the other day that he passed with these opportunity zone. Now that it's been announced that it's raised over $75 billion for inner city communities, that he is now instructing his federal agencies to move their offices out of the cozy downtown offices they currently reside in, directly into the inner cities that this opportunity zone is supposed to actually reach and help out. So this guy, just from a standpoint of just action, man, he has it. And the Democrats know that. And I think that's why you see a lot of what you see. And I think we're going to talk about it. But that's why you see Nancy Pelosi saying Joe Biden shouldn't do debates, because she knows he's going to get eviscerated. And there's nothing that he can really do to kind of stand up to what Donald Trump has done, what he's promised to keep doing. And it's night and day when it comes to Republican and Democrats. So again, just really good job.
And when you bring up the idea of debates, and I think that's an important point, because coming out of the convention, a lot of people are expecting the president to make at least a little bit of a bump in the polls, but most people know that the election will not be won or lost at the convention. However, as we look ahead to the debates, that could be a different story. And you bring up the idea that Nancy Pelosi says that maybe debates should not happen. The Joe Biden campaign has said that they will. But do you think those debates are really going to be a pivotal turning point for a lot of Americans as they try to contrast Joe Biden from President Trump?
Well, as far as being pivotal, it really depends, because I know they're going through a fight right now to see if we can add another debate on to have that debate before people start casting their mail-in ballots. So if they're able to accomplish that, I think it can make an effect in the way people vote. But obviously, if they put in those mail-in ballots before that happens, they're just going to kind of go off what they see right now. But in the end, I mean, it may not be pivotal, but I definitely think it can make a difference. I do know a lot of people are hoping and waiting for those, because at the end of the day, anybody that's been watching what's going on, anybody that knows Trump, anybody that's been watching Joe Biden hide in the basement, we know if these debates happen, he is going to get eviscerated. and I look forward to it. I really hope it happens. I really hope he's not able to be talked down. But I'll be honest with you, based on what I've been hearing the last couple of days and based on the way Democrats are moving, I wouldn't be surprised if they really do try to cancel the debates.
That's really interesting because, for example, this week was a pitch that the Republican Party was making to the American electorate, of course. I believe the average was somewhere around 15 million people tuning in every single night. But when we get to the debates, that's a much larger audience. You're going to have Democrats coming in. You're going to have Republicans coming in. You're going to have people that may not even pay attention to politics coming in and watching that event. And that is going to be a big indicator for a lot of those people who may decide to either come out and vote for one of those candidates or even say, you know what? I'm going to stay home. And that's something that the Biden campaign is very worried about with a lack of enthusiasm. So I think those debates on a large scale are going to change some minds. And I think it's going to be different for a lot of people, but it's still going to have an effect on the election itself. But Darius Mayfield, I appreciate you coming on the program tonight, breaking down the RNC and the prospect of debates. We'll play that one by ear. Thank you, Darius.
All right. Thank you.